Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of the Hornography podcast. My name is Andrew. Sitting with me is Brendan from All This Filth, and together we are the showrunners here at Hornography Perth Metal Club, a live music event held here in Perth, Western Australia, the last weekend of every month. And this month we are doing a stoner doom metal night, which we've done for the last couple of years, and it's always turned out really well.
Yeah, it tends to bring a bit of a different crowd. We have our Hornography regulars, and we love those guys. Everyone rocking up, but it does tend to bring these people that we basically see once a year at this stoner gig. They're specifically like, this is my jam. So, which is kind of cool.
That's what we want.
It has shocked us. Like every year, I'm thinking, I don't know how this is going to go, and every single year, it's like, man, that was.
Funnily enough, the biggest turnout that we had at the previous venue at Old Habits was actually the first stoner doom metal night we did. It was actually the biggest turnout. We had over 100 for that one, and so I mean, obviously that was the reason why we continued to do it, because it was like, why not, you know?
Do we usually do it around the same time of the year as well?
Yeah, last year we did it April, but this year, and then the first one we did around June, July. So
I feel like they're usually between sort of June to August, sort of.
The main reason is because during the earlier part in the summertime is that spliffs and riffs, so we kind of want to avoid clashing with that, you know. So
good call.
on the lineup we got Neo Mantra, who have been killing it this year with all these like great big gigs they've been doing.
Yeah, last time I saw them, I think it was
Perth Death Fest.
Yeah.
And then we got Troll, who last year they opened for a band called Earthless, who I'm a huge fan of, by the way, sort of like a psychedelic sort of rock. They would go on these like 30-minute like tangents, fucking instrumental stuff. It's fucking awesome to watch.
Yeah, I probably should have gone to that gig, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a free pass for that one, actually.
I know, but I was flat out because I remember that gig, that week was like 3 or 4 gigs. I was tired, man.
We can't go to all the gigs, man. It's just impossible, you know.
I mean, you can try.
Banished Realm is going to be coming in for the show, and also we have 2 of the members of that band coming in to join us and have a chat.
Yeah, Jared and Shaun from Banished Realm. Yep. Jared and I go way back, so this will be...
He's also in another band as well.
Oh, he's in many bands.
Dripped.
Maggot King.
Yeah.
He used to be in... What were they called? Last week we had Brendan knock in Nails of Imposition. Last time.
Oh, right, okay.
So, last podcast, Brendan knocked Nails of Imposition.
Yep.
Jared was in Nails of Imposition. Oh, actually, and also, he was in All This Filth for a while.
Oh, there you go. Everyone's connected in some way.
Yeah. A good friend of mine from way back.
So we'll have them in. And Horace will be the opening band, who's a new band. I've never come across them before, and they're going to be doing Hornography for the first time. So, I don't think Banished Realm have done Hornography as well either, have they?
I don't know if they've done Hornography. I've seen them live.
I've never seen them live, funny enough. No, it's for whatever reason, like just the schedule's never lined up for me to see them.
You're in for a treat. It's solid, man.
They're like a Death Doom sort of band, right?
Death Doom, and like my mate Lee's also in that band, and his wife plays violin, I think it is.
Right, okay.
And or cello or something. Either way,
some string instrument.
Yeah, some string, and she plays it. I think she's joined the band properly now, and she did it a few guest spots, and it went well, and now it's added another layer. Well, we can ask the guys when they get in.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so that's 25th of July, Saturday at the Milk Bar. So get your tickets at Ostix now if you want to get in on that. So let's talk about the previous Hornography show. It was a collaboration with Confession.
Yep.
Benny Bones from All This Filth, and Sarah doing the DJ and playing a lot of like industrial and alternative metal and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And Surrender to the Night, June 27th. What did you reckon? Iniquitous, Monolith, Lamentia, Winter on Venus, and Teflundren. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I think I did get it on the night.
Yeah.
It was Tough Lundgren.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, anyways. It was a really good turnout, actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Massive turnout. Another one where it was good doing another collaboration with Confessions, because they brought their crew as well.
A different crowd again as well.
Bit of a different vibe, but it was really good. And a really good turnout for how shitty the weather was, being that it was June 27th.
That's right.
The middle of the year here in Perth is pretty hectic with the weather, so yeah.
It did because we did it last year as well. This one was even better, turnout wise and all that stuff. It was even better, which I was kind of surprised because I didn't think the lineup was maybe as strong as last year's. But you never really know.
You know what?
I guess.
Like I did think that going in, I was like, okay, so Iniquitous legends, right?
Yeah.
And then the 3 bands on before are all sort of newer up and coming bands, sort of developing artists. So I wouldn't have thought I would have had massive followings, with all due respect. And but
it turned out good.
Good turnout.
Yeah,
really good turnout, and it was a really good night, and the vibes were good, and yeah.
Yeah. No, I was happy with that, and everyone had a great time, and a lot of interesting music being played by Benny and Sarah. A lot of cool stuff, obviously, but there was also a lot of like different stuff in there in the mix, So, so thanks to those guys for helping us out and putting on a bit of a show for us.
We'll be returning the favor at some point later this year. You and I will be going to Confessions.
Yeah.
For the Hornography takeover.
Yeah, that hasn't been sort of locked in at all yet,
Hasn't been
right?
locked in yet, but it will happen.
Yeah.
I know, because I speak to Benny all the time. It's going to happen, and you and I will be manning the decks again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because we had a lot of fun doing that last year.
Really fun, yeah.
We'll have to pick up play like a different set of songs on different bands and stuff as well.
Different playlists, yeah. Maybe get suggestions from the Hornography
we'll put it out there. Yeah, definitely. All right, so other gigs that happened, because the month of June really was just packed with shows. So much stuff.
I'm so tired. I'm still recovering from June. Like, I'm genuinely... People say there's nothing ever on in Perth, but man, I'm not getting a lot of sleep because you're about to go through the list of gigs. So.
That's right. Well, apart from our one, obviously, let's start from the beginning of it. I guess Heavys Bevvies was the first one we sort of went to. You obviously played with all this filth.
Indeed, I did. It was
good night.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Yeah.
Good turnout. Good vibes. Good bands. Can't really complain. I mean, the sound mix on the night wasn't great,
there was a bit of issues with the
technical
sound,
issues, but which was frustrating. But that was for all bands. No one escaped it, which was unfortunate. But still a good night.
Yeah.
So that was really well attended. So well done to the Heavys and Bevvies boys and Vanta and that.
Yeah, that was well done to those guys for putting on a good show. And I was doing the lights for the show as well, so that was also fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was a great way to kick off the month. And then right after that, we had Mortal Sin.
That was literally the next week.
Yeah, it was packed. Great turnout. Shout out to Paul Decerny for putting on such a great show.
That was an even bigger turnout. See, I thought Heavys and Bevvies being a festival, and just to go back to Heavys and Bevvies, it was a festival. And sometimes the half-day sort of festivals, like it can ebb and flow, and by the end of it, people are just sort of over it, and it waxes and wanes and such with the crowd. But the energy was pretty much all day was on. So the crowd, because I remember when we were playing, it was like... We got circle pits going, and I just remember thinking, man, that's pretty good. Some of these people being here for hours, so But so that was well attended, but then the next week was a whole other level.
To be fair, more than Mighty Mortal Sin. It's been 15, 20 years since the last time they were here. So
I think that's why I was sort of like, I thought it would be on par, like, turnout wise.
I knew that because they're all legendary, and it's been a while, and a lot of the old school metalheads were coming out for that one.
But that's the thing, is you never know though. How long have you been gone?
That's true. It's very true.
But Paul Decerny put on a really good show.
All great bands: Cold Fate, N4, Psychonauts. I mean, all the sort of like the regulars in the metal scene. Actually the band that really that I saw them before, but that band Forged by Fear, fantastic. Absolutely loved them. Yeah. They were like the opening band, I think, or the second band on.
I think they're the openers. Yeah.
Yeah, they were great.
Good, they were good. Yeah. And Shaun, if it's the same Shaun, drums for them as well. Who's coming in.
Okay.
If it's Shaun the drummer,
well, we'll find out. I guess
we'll find
out. So that was a great night, and then just recently, Gaerea. I didn't go to that one, but I know you did.
Thanks to Soundworks Touring for putting that on, and Dicey for chucking us on the doors. Did a bit of handing out flyers and working there a bit. That was given that it was a Tuesday night in Perth, it was actually a really good turnout, to be honest.
Right.
Because it was a bit more like, because when you get more, because they're blackened, the way I would describe them is black and melodic death metal.
Right.
And so given that, it's sort of, it's a bit more of a niche sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty good turnout for a Tuesday night. It was the first time they'd ever played in Australia. It was the first stop of their tour.
Yep.
They were really good. Like it's not usually my sort of thing, but I was impressed. My friend Tristan was like, no, they're really good. And I was like, cool. So went and checked it out, and it was really good. And then the opening bands, we had Alosa. Shout out to those guys.
Yep.
They opened, and Patient 67 as well. So
a little different. I didn't expect a band like that to be part of that show. But then I wasn't sure what Gaerea do.
So I would have, me personally, I would have thought our boys in Vanta would have fit that. Like if a low sort in Vanta would have made a bit more sense, because Patient 67 being a bit more of that sort of popular metalcore sort of stuff, with the melodic choruses and stuff.
Yeah.
Good at what they do. But yeah, either way, it was a very diverse bill and it worked. Yeah. Because they had people.
Which I actually like, to be fair.
Yeah, same. I do like a diverse bill. If you get 5 black metal bands in a row, by the time you get to the last one, you're like, all right,
I agree, yeah.
But, it was a good night. It was actually a really good night for a Tuesday night. So yeah,
cool.
It could have gone either way, because I've been to shows at Amplifier on a Tuesday night where there's been literally 60 people there or something.
I remember seeing Entombed AD years ago at Amplifier, and there was no one there.
I saw sick of it all there, who had just come off doing the European festival circuit. So all the pictures on their social media were these massive crowds, and then the off shows were massive metropolis-sized venues, and they come here and there's 60 people on a freaking Tuesday night. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah,
and I
haven't
haven't been back since.
I know.
Well, not to Perth, anyways.
That's why we always tell people, just get your tickets and support all these bands that are making all that the huge trek to not only Australia but to Perth as well. And
actually, I think that's something we address this last time, or has this come out since? Froth Fury Festival not returning to Perth.
Yes, that was just announced recently. We haven't addressed it because it was announced before.
I couldn't remember because it was very close to when we did the last podcast. I was just, but it's a bit of a shame.
It's disappointing, but
not unexpected, but a shame. I will say this, and I said this before on our first podcast, that Froth Fury Festival, the one in Perth anyways, not just because we played it, but because it was my favourite festival I've ever been to as a punter and as a performer.
Yeah. I was the most relaxed at that festival compared to other ones that I've been to.
Just the layout, the way everything was organised, you never really had to line
Now,
up
was that because maybe the turnout wasn't as big as some of the other festivals? Or
So there is that argument, but I would also say it was because it was organised well.
I think that as well,
laid out well. Yeah. And I'm not the only person that said this. I've spoken to so many people. I've spoken to the Brad and Dicey from Soundworks.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the feedback they're getting is that the lineup was great.
Yeah.
The turnout was actually pretty good. It's just the fact is that, and I've said this before, that putting on shows here in Perth is multiple times more expensive than putting on the exact same show.
I think people need to realise that it's just more expensive. Yeah.
In Adelaide. And Adelaide cops it a bit too. It's not like where the East Coast, Adelaide and Perth are the ones that usually miss out, where that sort of thing. So it was really good that an event that started in Adelaide, knowing what it's like for them, came over to Perth, and they gave it a crack. And I was speaking to Dicey, and he was actually saying that the turnout, it wasn't even a bad turnout. They probably only needed an extra 800 odd people.
Yeah.
Which is not that much when you think about it.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. It's this much that it didn't make it financially viable. But it's not to say it'll never come back. It's just that they can't do it next year. And it is going to be in Adelaide for those of you listening in Adelaide. So definitely check that out.
Definitely. It's been there for a number of years now. And that's why it's,
and it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit about how Soundwave first started in Perth. Remember back in the day? And it kind of started as a little sort of punk sort of festival, and then it kind of grew. And then
it ditched us.
Yeah, and then they ditched it for the last year.
But, so maximum respect to everyone involved with Froth and Fury. So that's to Anita and Jason from the Adelaide Froth and Fury, and to Brad and Dicey. Obviously, Soundworks crew bringing it over.
Yeah.
The lineup, the day, it was excellent. I'm glad we got to experience it as a band. We got to play it. The crowd was awesome. I got to see Nailbomb and Soulfly.
Yeah,
and
fun memories as well.
Jeez, so many
it's funnily
bands.
enough, I was during my day job, I was over at the HPST Stadium just recently. I go there quite regularly, actually. But I was walking through the front parts, and literally not far from where I was where Soulfly and Nailbomb were playing.
Yeah.
And people were just milling around. I'm like, Soulfly was just playing there,
exactly.
I was like, it was crazy, but
it was good, and it had something for everyone. They had Aborted, and Abath was there,
Archspire, and
Archspire, and just so many good bands. It's a shame we were seriously this close to coming back again, but you know.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is, unfortunately. But like I said, it's not so much because we have bad people in Perth or bad crowds. Like a lot of the commentary sometimes goes. We do have really good, dedicated crowds here in Perth. It's just the expense means we need we need more.
We need to step it up a bit, as far as to cover those. It's just because of the geography. It's all it really is,
The geography, the cost of everything, the scarcity of venues means that they can charge slightly more. So the venues cost more. The travel costs more to, the equipment hire.
They're also, to be fair, also playing to smaller crowds because we don't have the population that Sydney and Melbourne have. So they are playing to smaller venues and stuff. So.
We don't have the population, but what we don't have in size, we make up for in
passion.
In passion, because we know when it comes, we know that we have to show up.
Yeah, we're a bit more grateful for the ones that do come through here,
So yeah, like we always say, if you're 50-50 on a ticket, buy that ticket if you can afford it, because otherwise it might not come back.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunately what's happened. But like I said, shout out to the Froth Fury crew and everyone who was involved, because it was a fantastic day. And that's all I'll say about that.
All right. Speaking of tickets and gigs, let's go through the list of what's coming up. We won't focus too much on the later end of the year stuff, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the month of July and August that we should mention. I want to start off with Gaerea's single launch on July 24th at Linnets Lounge. With Parabellum, Shadowborn, and Outcome Variables. So we had obviously two of the members of that band in our podcast in episode 5. July 30th coming up is Wage War at Freo Social.
Interesting.
So that'll be a big one. And August 13th, for all the rural extreme metal fans out there, Psychroptic and Rivers of Nile at Magnet House.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be...
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's
going to see a lot of the crew there. Just recently announced, August 22nd, Iniquitous Monolith, Dripped, Toxic Volcano, and Bile Cannon at Linnets Lounge.
That is a brutal lineup. That's actually going to be pretty good. I'm
going to
go to that.
I'll be definitely going to that as well. So that'd be a good one. September 1st, Skindred and Magnet House.
I will be going to that because I have a soft spot for Skindred. They're a really good live band.
I've seen them once, and it was when they were supporting
Max and Eagle.
Yeah,
that was good. That's the only time I've seen them as well. It was fun. That's what sold me on them.
Oh, I didn't know anything about them when
I was like reggae and metal and this and that.
It worked though.
But it works. It gets you partying, man, and it's good vibes.
Yeah,
good feels, man. I love. It's different from a lot of the stuff I listen to, so I like it. So.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Also, a big one, September 3rd at the Rosemount Shred Fest.
Yes.
And we're actually going to have a double pass to give away at our July Stone and Doom Metal Night as well.
And the one after, August.
August, which is our birthday show, which we'll touch on a little bit later.
On that later. But,
so make sure you come down to the show if you want to score a couple of tickets.
Shout out to Shannon from Ashen.
And Your Mate Bookings as well.
Yep.
So on that one's Obscura. I think they're from Germany. They're like a prog death metal band from Germany. I believe.
Don't know too much about them.
I've heard their stuff before.
Them, but
yeah.
Volusia,
yeah, which I think I've seen before. They're
I'm pretty sure they opened for Lamb of God years ago.
Possibly. Yeah, I think I've seen them.
I'm pretty sure I've seen them.
Yeah. They're like a sort of tech death sort of like band.
Tech deathcore-ish sort of band.
Yeah, a little bit like that. A lot of breakdowns. And obviously the locals are Ashen, Alosa, and Vile Mutilation. So
that's going to be good, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night.
Rosemount Hotel is a great venue as well. So yeah,
it is a great
venue. Tickets for that. And like I said, come down to Hornography. We're going to have passes to it. So
definitely.
Yep.
September 22nd, Soundworks touring and bringing over Carcass and Gaerea at Magnet House as well.
Yeah.
I've seen Carcass a few times over the years, and I was talking to Guy Bell from Enforce at one of the shows I went to recently, and he's seen them a bunch of times as well. It's one of those bands that they just consistently deliver the goods every single time. And even though they're sort of like a pioneer of the sort of grindcore kind of stuff, they kind of really went sort of the melodic death metal stuff in the later years, So
I have a confession. I have never, to my knowledge, that I can remember, seen Carcass live.
Really? You got to see them live. They're really good.
I'm going to this one for sure. And I've never seen Gaerea either, and I'm looking forward to that.
I think I've seen them before. They were might have been at a Soundwave or something. I think maybe.
La Migra. Yeah, man.
Isn't what's his name from Napalm Death in that band, or is he not in that band?
So, as
Shane
far
Embry.
I know he was, and Dino was in it for a while.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
They sort of. They're all undercover. It's like a super group of dudes from different bands.
That's right. Yeah.
doing the...
So I don't know who's in the band now.
At the moment, not sure.
It'll be interesting to see then, I guess.
But yeah, I've heard they're really good live. My friend Jack said that he saw them at, I don't know, some festival in Europe, I think he was, and one of them had a machete and was like singing over the crowd with the machete swinging around. He goes, it was one of the most coolest but kind of half scary things I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, because they got the masks on and stuff. I was like, cool. So, yeah, I'm keen to check that out.
So it's September 22nd. So, shout out to Soundworks for bringing them over.
Yeah, get your tickets to that for sure.
All right, September 26th, Health and Perturbator.
I definitely will be
Metropolis
there.
Trio.
I love Health, man. Like, great band. Love my industrial metal, as most of you know. And they're different. Like I've said before, the quickest way I could describe them is imagine if Deftones sort of did industrial metal. Yeah.
Right.
And they do lots of collaborations with people and stuff as well. They're quite cool. Some of it's quite electronic sort of music. But yeah, you have to experience it. Just check it out.
Yeah, definitely. October 2nd, Lamb of God with Trivium and Bleed From Within at HPC Stadium. So we just mentioned that at Froth Fury. That's going to be a big show.
That is.
October 11th, Catatonia at Magna House with support from Primrose Path.
Yeah, Primrose Path.
Perfect band to open for them. So good choice there. So it should be a good show. And November 1st, this will be announced by the time this podcast drops. But Vagon from Canada, which my company Crunch Entertainment is organising for them. They're playing here on November 1st at the Milk Bar with support from Kimura, Alosa, and Vestigial.
Oh, that's a solid lineup.
So all kind of like in that realm of like death metal and stuff, you know. So, but that will be announced by the time this podcast drops. So
that's funny because we are actually playing with Vagon, but not here.
Over in Queensland.
We're playing Queensland.
I saw that with Buried Shallow as well.
Yeah, we're taking Buried Shallow. There's more to come for that, so stay tuned. But yeah, we're taking our boys in Buried Shallow over to Queensland for a couple shows.
Yep.
Queensland Rampage. So yeah, it's in the works, but that's the first show that's been announced.
Yep.
And stay tuned.
There we go.
Be good. But yeah, Vagon, all the way from Canada, so get out and support.
Yeah, they're only a local band in from Edmonton in Canada, so they're not like a sort of. But they've been touring everywhere, and they're trying to make it, along the way.
They are doing the hard. Yeah, I'm talking hard because the way I've seen them do this, they've hit up a promoter in like every city.
Yep.
So it's not like they've had one person organize this whole thing.
No. I mean, that's the way to do it, right? To have like some local sort of promoter involved in organising all that stuff.
Or a booking agent who books all of them for you. But
I don't think they got a booking agent. I think it's all them in house.
Yeah, so it's off their own back. Yeah. But yeah, I've checked them out since, and they're solid. If you like that tech deathy sort of stuff. Yeah. I've
seen clips of them live and stuff, and
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, they're solid at what they do, and so look, I'm happy to be involved with that.
That's November 1st is the Sunday, yeah.
Your Sunday show.
I'm still in Queensland, but yeah.
It'll be an earlier show for those like worried about Sunday. It'll be 6 to 10, so like you can still like go to the show, have a few drinks, and then get to bed early for work the next day.
Oh yeah, matinee show. I love a matinee.
Sundays used to be a thing in Perth, and then just over the years it's sort of just dropped off, So different culture, I guess.
Different times.
All right, last one, November 14th, Killswitch Engage and Solosis at Metropolis Frio.
That's I'll be going to that. That's the two bands I like.
Yeah, I never seen Solosis, but I have seen Killswitch.
I saw Solosis maybe last year or the year before when they came.
Right.
That was good show. First time I'd ever seen them, so
cool.
Solid. So yeah, it's gonna be a crackerjack.
All right. Just before we bring in our guest, I want to quickly mention a couple of new music that's just been dropped recently. So check out all these singles that are available on Spotify and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Twin Serpents, Veil of Smoke, just released that brand new single.
Have we had Twin Serpents on Hornography yet?
They have done Hornography, I think, but not since we've been involved. I think when Dicey and Cab are running it.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, so we need to have them on at some point, I guess. Secular, who unfortunately had to drop out of our last show, they had a new single that was released on the day called Heretic, so check that out. Unfortunately, they had to drop out for... Unfortunately, everyone has day jobs, and it's sort of got in the way and stuff, so it is what it is. Gaerea, We Are Blind is also released with a music video, so you can check that out. Winter on Venus, who was actually on our last show, they got a brand new single as well, Nothing Is Wrong, which is... I guess you could call them like an alternative sort of metal band, I guess. Quite mellow, but like sort of heavy and sort of shades.
Sort of alternative progressive, sort of, if you like your carnival type stuff.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, definitely. Woe Warden dropped a brand new album, The Roots of My Neglect, and they're going to be doing a birthday show on August 29th. So that's going to be a huge one. That's sort of going to be like their album launch show in some ways, I guess. So,
killer.
And I don't know if Woe Warden have actually done Hornography in all the years, actually.
I think they have but they? Not since we've been running.
No, so I guess...
I remember seeing them at, what was that place in Northbridge?
What, the Boston?
Nah, the one I hated.
Oh, Convenience.
Convenience.
Oh, right, yeah. They played that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. That would have been different.
I like how you got it as soon as the one I hate is Convenience. Yeah.
Depravity released not a new single, but it was a video for the song "Call to the Fallen." So that was released. I guess that was the last video from their most recent album. And this is band that's been hitting us up actually, which is great because we've been wanting to have bands contact us about putting out music.
Yeah, well,
and
like
stuff.
we always say, if you got something to promote, hit us up. We will help you promote. If you have a show to promote, we'll hit it up. If you want to play on Hornography, hit us up. We can't keep track of every single band out there. Like,
exactly.
People get angry and you're like, well, calm down. Like, we're not all power.
We try to write as much of this stuff down, but stuff gets missed.
Just before we move on, there's plenty of local releases, so this isn't all of them. And same with gigs. There's just, we mentioned those gigs. There are other gigs out there. So
this is just stuff that we can find or come across our way or whatever.
Keep your, eyes peeled. There's always stuff going on.
But this one, they hit us up. A band called Local Fist. They got a new single. Actually, a couple of new singles, but this one's called Scion. And I checked it out, and I was actually really impressed.
What's it like?
It's given me a little bit of a Pantera vibe, but mixed with a sort of slight hardcore groove aspect to it.
Cool.
It was really, really cool.
So I guess they're starting out Local Fist, then going Interstate Fist, then National Fist, International Fist.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Fist.
But either way, it was like really solid. So if they're doing live shows, we'd be happy to have you on a Hornography show in the future. So check that out. We'll have all the links to all this stuff in the descriptions and all that stuff, So.
And that knock on the door is probably
our guest.
Probably our guests.
All right. So it's Jared and Shaun from Banished Realm.
Yes. And we're back. Welcome to, what episode is this?
Episode 7.
Episode 7 of the Hornography podcast. And joining us right now, Jared and Shaun. Welcome.
From Banished Realm?
Oh, yeah, from Banished Realm. Yeah, welcome. Best intro ever. Nah, cool.
Hey guys, thanks for having us.
How you guys going?
Yeah, good.
Guitarist and...
No,
vocalist and guitarist and bassist.
Oh, bassist, sorry, yeah. I thought you were playing guitar.
He wishes. No, I'm kidding.
No one needs to see that.
Yeah. No, welcome. How you guys doing?
Yeah, good man,
really
good.
Excellent. How's things with the band going? Give us some general. How's the band?
Well, yeah, it's I had a good time at the Death Fest that Blaney put on.
Perth Death Fest, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It was really good. Even for doing being on first and all that, having a very nice crowd for the first band, for being the openers. Apart from that, we've got this Hornography gig coming up.
Yeah, Stoner Doom Metal Night at Milk Bar, July 25th, along with Near Mantra. And I think they were at Perth Death Fest as well, weren't they?
Yep.
Near Mantra, yep. And Troll and Horror. So it's a solid lineup of all that kind of like Stoner, Doom, sort of death stuff. How would you describe your band's music? Because I know I've been told it's like sort of... Because I've never seen you guys yet, surprisingly. The schedules have never lined up and I just haven't been available. But I've been told it's like a sort of death, doom sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. We sort of like started out like just wanting to do like your, I suppose like your standard death doom band, sort of like in the vein of Incantation and I'd say another band. I just off the top of my head, mate, like Immolation, stuff like that, just a bit more slower. And then from there we've just sort of like progressed into the more sort of like funeral doom sort of arena, I suppose.
Yeah, I when I spoke to Danny Major from Toxic Volcano and Maximum Perversion and that at the last gig, because he hadn't seen us before, he goes, "You guys sort of give me the vibe of maybe early My Dying Bride now."
I was going to say, it sounds like My Dying Bride, but the description that you're saying,
like
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So let's dig back a bit. When did you guys start, and how did the band sort of come together? Who knew who, and what was the deal?
Well, it's quite funny because we're both basically...
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay, cool, yeah. A lot of, like, so it was basically from two separate bands ending and coming together, from what I understand, because Population Control called it a day. And then we had, some of us in that band wanted to keep going, but since we'd had a great run with Population Control, and we were like, oh, look, we don't really want to do the grindcore thing again. And so I was talking to Lee and Shaun for a while, and Lee wanted to sort of do more of a death metal thing, and he was like, oh, I've bought a 7-string and I'm, sort of writing more of these like death metal riffs, and then we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. And we couldn't really, like in those early sort of discussions and that, we couldn't really nail down like who would be like, if we would just have a singer and Lee would just play guitar and all that. But then, with the sort of the other side of it, when we're sort of looking at all that, like, Lee reached out to you, right, Griffo?
Yeah.
Like after Unravel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose the history of everyone in the band goes a long way back. Like we essentially started sharing a rehearsal room out in Vic Park at Vision. Right. So that was Unravel and my old band and Population Control, and so essentially, Unravel broke up just before COVID, and about 6 months later, Population Control broke up, and during that time we just started just sort of like writing sort of stuff. Like I'd been talking to Jared and Lee and about doing like a different band, because both Unravel and Population Control were sort of like your death grind HM2 sort of band. It's 30-second songs sort of thing. Yep. So we thought, we'll try to do something different, give it a crack, and see what comes out. And we think we started jamming just after COVID calmed down a little bit, when we could rehearse again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And we're sharing that jam room. There was so much gear in that room.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
I remember at one stage, I think it was like a scene out of Step Brothers, just like, who put their balls on my drum kit?
Yeah. Nice.
Shaun would come in and set up his drums, and he'd be like, whose kit is this? I don't know whose this is. It's like, it's always different stacks and different pedals strewn all over the place. Most of them were probably yours.
Yeah, probably.
Classic. I think it's interesting, because this is not the first time that bands have like sort of formed in the ashes of other bands, but they tend to do the exact opposite of what they were doing before. So you went from like 30-second grind songs, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got a lot of songs sort of like 7 minutes, 6 minutes long.
Oh, for sure.
And sort of more slower pace. Still heavy, still brutal, but a different kind of heavy and brutal.
How long is Utterances? Is that 11 or 13?
I think it's 11 minutes, yeah.
So they got 11 minutes.
So not a lot of songs in the set list then.
Yeah. Well, it just reminds me of like Carnivore and Typo Negative.
Yeah.
Was it
well,
Carnivore?
Type of Negative have a mix of short songs and long songs, like really long songs.
But then they basically were just more doom. But you know what I mean? Because Carnivore were like that trash sort of thing.
But if you're slowing down the tempo, then obviously the songs are going to be more drawn out, I guess. So that's, it's just how it is, I suppose.
But it's a different style. But
was that the intention, though? You wanted to kind of do more slower kind of stuff?
And why did you want to go slower instead of like, or did you guys just get tired of blasting fast and just want to slow it down and try something new?
Well, particularly... from a lot of the bands that I've been in the past and still in now, I've got a lot of stuff where it's always just absolute pummeling bombardment stuff, with Dripped and Maggot Kingslayer, I guess. But there's still that constant, it doesn't stop. And so when pitched the idea of, hey, let's do something a bit more mid-tempo on that, it's sort of funny because you feel like out of your comfort zone because you're playing a lot less, but it makes you feel sort of more inspired, I guess, and sort of a bit more. I get more nervous by it actually, like trying to fill in the gaps of this band than the other ones.
100%, yeah. A little bit more focus going to this band because it's, I suppose, where, you know, like Jared's saying, you know, you're going a million miles a minute sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, you know, if you are, you know, coming across as really like raw and like you're super aggressive, you know, it's it doesn't matter. You can't really distinguish like if you stuff up or whatnot. But with a slower band, it's just like, oh, it's so much more noticeable. So you're gonna be like on your A game.
I also find that like when it's played slower, people say on it it's much easier to play, but I like the riffs, for example. But I always say it's much harder to make easier and slower riffs and drum beats sound interesting. Do you know what I mean? To make good ones, because otherwise you can just bore the shit out of people if you don't.
I think because like if you're going at a really fast tempo, you kind of get into that groove where it's almost like autopilot.
The energy, you've got the energy to rely on as well, right? Yeah. With the different vibe, you've got to provide that vibe. You know?
But then it's sort of playing like with more space in between. I guess it gives you more creative like sort of outlets or whatever, you know, to kind of do more whatever. So
100%.
Also with the addition of Sarah as well on the violins.
We were talking about that beforehand. It's violin, so it's not cello, it's violin. Violin, yeah.
It's sort of that you can't, particularly if because Shaun and Lee and Sarah have written the bulk of our album that'll be recorded soon.
Oh, nice.
So,
and how long Sarah been in the band? Because she wasn't an original member?
That's funny how that sort of went, because she originally appeared just as a guest.
Yeah, so we record like we say an EP, that 11-minute song, and we just thought, this we had got like this really like slow melodic passage. Lee had the idea of you know, my wife Sarah, she's a violinist. We could get her to come in and do like a piece over it, and it sounded absolutely amazing. Like it blew our minds, and so essentially it was just kind of like, you know what, like. Let's see if she'd be keen to join the band. And I think that was probably about a year ago now.
Yeah,
cool.
So when we launched that one, because we launched that show
at
Linnets.
I know, I was there.
And we played, and that was the first gig that she did, and we sort of had this discussion, because after we played that show, I had a lot of people come up afterwards, and they said, oh, that was so awesome, that extra melody, it added a whole new thing. And they're like, is she a part of the band? I think I was asked by at least about, you know, half a dozen to a dozen people. Is she part of the band? I said, well, she's really only guesting on this one track. And everyone was like, bro, you've got to keep the violin. Everyone was like that. But we were like, look, if she wants to do it, we're not going to put any pressure on her. If she only wants to be a guest, that's fine. But it was only about a week after the gig, and she was like, can I be in the band?
Yeah. Cool.
And we're just like down secretly like, go, can you please say yes? Please.
It's like, can I be in the band, please? I'll think about it.
We'll get back to you. Yeah, we'll let you know.
Well, that's cool, because it's like that's a side of this kind of music that you don't see very often. That kind of like extra, like, you know, non-traditional instrument, I guess.
And that's interesting, because that makes you guys different. Because I've seen you before without the violin, and I've seen you with the violin, and it sort of catches the attention a bit more. Like there's just another layer there, which again, when you're playing that sort of music, you're adding layers to get that vibe going, to create that atmosphere, and that's cool.
I think we did.
So props to you.
Thanks, man.
we did a good job with the guitars and adding the melodic layer, because I remember when Lee and yourself were writing things, and I kept saying, I want to sound like, do you remember? I was like, I want us to sound like Worm, because I was obsessed with Foreverglade, that album. I was like, can we please sound like this? Because it's sort of that really sort of, it's very doomy, but there's heaps of guitar leads and stuff in it as well.
Yeah, so if you got if anyone's never heard of the band Worm before, check them out. They it's weird. They started out as like a black, slow, so like depressive black metal band, and then they went into the more sort of like death doom,
sludgy
stuff, and then they've come full circle. Now they're like almost like symphonic black metal now.
Cool.
Yeah, but I mean, writing those guitar parts, I still think we managed it, but it didn't. Still having the violin now, it's just sort of put an extra layer
Yep.
on it.
Oh, exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's all like influenced, like the direction.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty much going towards.
So-
Excellent. What sort of direction are you going towards, if you don't mind divulging?
So essentially, like our last EP we put out last year, but just more of the same thing. Because like I was saying before, we started out just like just sort of like cookie cutter, sort of like incantation, sort of like still death metal, but a bit more slower, mid pace sort of thing. And then with the inclusion of Sarah and violin now, it's sort of like you're sort of like going to that early, sort of like even goth metal, sort of like what you call it sound. So like what you call it, My Dying Bride. Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much those. Yeah, sort of slower,
Oh,
cavernous.
Yes,
sections.
cavernous. Peaceful Records sort of bands.
Yeah.
Peaceful Records, yeah, because they have a lot of that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
don't they? Interesting, yeah.
With that, talking about the violin and and it's slower. When you actually put the songs together, and that since there is this small open gap, but there's this extra melody. If you play something that's off, it's way more noticeable. So you have to sit there and go, does this really fit what we're doing or not?
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's much more sort of considered, you would say. Like, you really got to think it through before you just...
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they said, like it's if you make a mistake or if it doesn't sound right,
Yeah.
it's going to be really noticeable compared to like your faster, sort of
That's
stuff.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but it's great to have like a band that's doing different things like that because like we do need like we've talked about this before. We need more variety with like the metal scene because it's like if you talk about the Perth metal scene, it's predominantly mostly like your death metal, like sort of like some thrash and whatever, And then every time we hear like we had Gaerea on, there's like not a lot of symphonic sort of metal,
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of like slow paced sort of like the kind of stuff that you're doing, you know what I mean?
The other shame about it, and I've said this many times, is that it's so segregated. So like bands tend to try just play with other bands that are sort of similar to them.
Yeah.
So they're setting up like little sub scenes, and I just think that's cool and all, but I think we should all try to come together.
I like
a mixed
seeing
bill.
shows with a variety of like lineups and
I
stuff.
love a mixed bill, and like it's just we're stronger if we're all together. Like if we
Yeah.
all come together,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Like, I'm too old for this sub scenes. Shit, man, come on. Just come on down, have a good time, get involved. It's your scene, is what I'm saying,
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you actually get started into like music and what stuff were you listening to as a kid and all that kind of stuff?
I suppose, growing up, well, essentially, my parents actually met going to like all, the pub rock sort of like bands in the 80s sort of thing, like, the Angels.
Oh, that is. I will just say that is. If you're not from Australia and you're watching this, that is so many people of our generation.
Yeah.
It's my mum and dad always talked about them not talking together. Anyways, that's a traumatic childhood. But no, they went to Barnsley and all that sort of stuff. AC/DC at the raffles for $1. I get told these stories all the time. So Australia's famous pub rock scene, In Excess, etc., etc.
Yep, 100%. Yep. We're a product of that environment. So growing up, listening to all that music. But then, I suppose. Branching out, when you start discovering like heavy music. For me, it was actually video games, believe it or not. Like all the PlayStation games, like the Grand Theft Autos and all that stuff.
That
so
totally
The soundtrack on Grand Theft Auto was amazing. Like all those games.
A lot of people go on about the Tony Hawk soundtrack.
Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, all those kind of games.
When we were playing Froth and Fury earlier this year, Mark, who was playing guitar for us, was like, "Oh my god, I just played with some bands who are on the Tony Hawk soundtrack."
That's right.
And I was like, so he was stoked,
Even earlier than that, I remember Need for Speed. I think.
I remember that game. Yeah.
Need for Speed had. Because it was a bonus track on the Rob Zombie thing. That's song 2 Lane Blacktop. That was on Need for Speed.
Oh, I remember that song. Yeah. I should go back even earlier than that. Shows how old I am. But Road Rash, remember that game at all?
Yeah,
They had like Soundgarden and stuff like that on there. Love that stuff. Yeah. That was cool. Wow. Yeah, so we forget about like video games being a platform to like discover music, and I guess kids nowadays are kind of getting more into that stuff. You know, so
yeah, definitely.
It's strange how you forget about that. You know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So pretty much from there, it was like I think what really sort of like kicked it off was like I think it was Grand Theft Auto Vice City sort of thing where
a lot of 80s stuff.
Yeah, they had the 80s metal sort of channel, and you had Ozzy and who else was on there?
Faith No More.
Faith No More, like but the one that really always stuck out to me was Slayer.
Oh yeah,
Raining Blood. I was just kind of like, holy crap! Like this, what is this music? Like it literally is like powerful. And then from there, it was literally just like, all right, what bands sound like Slayer?
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, dope.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's it.
What about yourself? How'd you get into all this stuff, heavy stuff?
Similar through my parents and that. I think people have asked a few times, your earliest musical memory in that, and mine's actually Roy Orbison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, okay.
But I think because my old man loves like the Who, that's his favorite band and all that.
Yeah.
Sort of
thing. Cool.
But so he showed me a lot of that. But I think the thing that started to get me onto the heavier route was he bought Alice Cooper's Trash when it came out.
Oh yeah, Poison. I remember that song on there.
That guitar lead, I was like, I love Distortion. After I heard that lead, I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky enough to work in a CD store when I was 13 and 14, just for Christmas.
For
holidays.
those younger viewers, a CD is like it's like a physical like circle where they put music.
It's a shiny
sometimes
disc.
Used to be video games as well on these things, shiny on one side.
Yeah, that's starting to go away now. They're making it obsolete now.
I've seen that. And used to put it into a CD player, and you had to play it from start. Well, you didn't have to; you could skip songs. But for our younger viewers, that's a CD.
So but I was like, it was beat music and Karen Up when that was a thing. So,
Classic.
So I'd go in there I think I stumbled across obviously I heard the Black Album and stuff, and I'm like, this is cool. But then I think it might have been. Just for the guitar tone alone, I think it was Limp Bizkit's Significant Other or something like that, and that came out.
Dude, new metal was our age,
But like, I heard that guitar tone, and this older guy that worked there, who's metal dude, he always had like the dyed black hair and all that, and he always wore like leather pants and stuff. Didn't matter what temperature it was or whatever.
I appreciate
commitment.
I appreciate the commitment.
His name was Simon, and he was quite a bit older than me. And I was listening on the headphones one day, and he goes, "What are you listening to, man?" I'm like, "Oh, this band like Limp Bizkit with the guitar tone and that. It's just so heavy." And he goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then like, I think Slipknot was just coming out as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is like the heaviest stuff ever." And he was
Dude,
like,
I remember saying that about Slipknot when I was a kid. I was like, "There's nothing heavier than Slipknot."
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, the drums, they're so fast. How does he do that?" And Simon's like, "Really? Do you know Cannibal Corpse have done that since '88?" And I was like, "Pardon?" And I think from that point on, that was the moment where I was like, "There's a whole lot of extreme music I didn't know."
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere, though, right? You know.
Yeah.
Like Slipknot was one of those gateway bands, that people
gateway
talk
band.
about.
They were one of my.
That first release was phenomenal.
It still is. Yeah, it's one of my favorite albums.
Self-titled Sanity in Carousel. Do you remember Sanity
Yeah,
CD shops in Carousel?
Yeah.
In Cannington, where I'm represent. That's where I'm from. I remember buying back. I remember because we used to quite often go to what was the one in the city? 78 Records.
Oh yeah.
Genuinely, do you remember
time.
you'd catch up with your friends on a Saturday morning or whatever, or Saturday afternoon, who we kidding? But we'd catch up on a Saturday, have a few drinks, head into the city, head to this different CD stores and joint venture.
Yeah.
That's where the shirts are, right?
Yeah.
So that you would do that.
Yep.
I would do that just about every other week, man. And we knew the people in the working at
at all those places.
Yeah.
Funnily, when I mentioned beat music just then, there was a girl there who she ended up marrying Ross, who worked at Joint Venture.
Was Ross the long hair guy?
He's the real skinny dude. a very soft-spoken guy.
Yeah.
Lovely fella.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But it's like later on, someone told me, and I'm like, oh, I used to work with her when I was like 14, and
Crazy.
Like, Ross is like, that's my wife. I was like, what?
My wife.
Oh, it doesn't. Wait, when you said that before, it took everything for me to not go, my wife. Talking about Lee, my wife.
Yeah. But, it's just, so I think that was a big gateway thing for me, just like that early Slipknot stuff. But also, other bands, probably Cold Chamber and Mudvayne and all that sort of thing. And
Same.
Then,
Yeah. Fear Factory for me as well.
You hear stuff later on, and it's like you don't really assign it the proper genre until you're sort of. I mean, I used to think Hatebreed was just, I was like, oh, this is some pretty aggressive metal, and it's like, it's hard.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because without context, you just think it's heavy, because loud guitar, so it's it's metal, or whatever, So, but
I remember thinking Hatebreed was just like a new kind of thrash.
Yeah.
Instead of like but then they got me into hardcore, to be honest.
Yeah,
'Cause
same.
They did a covers album for the Lions.
Yeah.
Which people swear it doesn't exist, and I'm like, I have it, like a physical a physical CD.
Yeah.
And it was great because half the album was hardcore and half the album was metal. So on one side they got like Obituary, Sepultura, Slayer, Metallica, etc. And the other side is all freaking Sick of It All, Agnostic Front.
Yeah, those compilation albums, I discovered so many bands through that. Like, especially all the Roadrunner stuff and all that back in the day,
Compilation albums, man.
Yeah, they were great to, obviously.
We sound so old. The kids don't know what they're missing with the compilation albums and the CDs and the. They're like, man, I can't even leave it because otherwise it's going to melt in the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the, they're all like the kids these days because, we're talking about CD wallets here.
CD
And
wallets.
they're talking about vinyl.
I never got into the CD wallets. I didn't like putting CDs in. I just like to keep the actual cases and stuff,
No,
That's
you
what I
had to,
prefer.
man, because if what if a party broke out?
Oh,
though? What if a party broke out? You needed your CDs there.
Yeah,
I just remember those ones that used to hang on your window visor in the car sort of thing. I was like, how they survived. I don't know.
So they'd get so heavy they'd start falling down.
Crazy.
CDs getting stuck in your CD player in your car, and you're like, well, this is what we're listening to forever now.
Yeah.
But you're right. When we used to go into the city and you'd go there, many CD stores, you'd go home with a pile of them. And the thing was, you can't replace that feeling, I think, when you held the physical stuff in your hands.
Yeah.
And I remember, Paz as well. Paz has told me the same thing. He goes, kids don't understand when you'd wait for something to be released.
You'd
pre-order and it would come out, and then you go to the CD store and rush in and you grab it and you're holding it and you're like,
It's the anticipation factor that seems to be missing nowadays.
The best time of the week was a Thursday or Friday when the new CDs would come in.
That's right.
After you'd order it.
Yeah.
You'd, after work on a Friday, we'd head into freaking 78, grab our CDs we'd ordered, say hello to the boys. Yeah. And but the most exciting time was the trip on the way home. Be like, I can't wait till I grab this. Put this in a CD player, catch up with Jad, and we'd have a drink, and then we'd discuss the album. Yeah, and it's all about it's a ritual, right? Like,
it is.
That's what we grew up on, and it's different now. Yeah. And I'm just hoping that the next generation and future generations have those sort of rituals too. Yeah. Where they can feel sort of part of it, because that's a good way to grow the community. Do you know what I mean? Like.
But it's also appreciating the music as well, because it definitely feels like, to some degree, that there's less appreciation because of the fact that you don't have these tangible sort of like elements involved. You know what I mean? So it sort of becomes a little diluted a little bit when I
think because there's more. Personally, I think because there's more access. Yeah. Like I said, you can just.
That's what it is. Yeah.
You could scroll anywhere, find anything. You want. So it's more access to different things, whereas. It used to be sort of more funneled, through the label system and that. You would hear about it through advertising. Those bands would be the ones that would tour. So you'd hear about those bands. You'd check those bands out.
Yeah,
you'd buy the CD. You'd go, and you become fans or not. But so now, like, because everyone's discovering different things, there's not that togetherness of like
but the work becomes like you've got to now sort of seek it out a bit more than as opposed to having stuff funneled to you.
The algorithm, like, because a lot of people start getting into it, shoving it down everyone's throat. And
there's that as well. There's so many elements involved now. It's crazy.
Even going to a CD store, and sort of having that blindness of going in there and just picking something on a whim.
I've picked up albums just on the cover alone.
I picked up albums just back in the day, and you've done this too, because we've been in the CD store, done this, picked it up and gone, who is this? Roadrunner Records.
That's what I've done as well. I've literally done that.
You never heard it? Never heard it. That's how I got into Gaerea, and I fucking love Gaerea now.
I discovered some of my favourite bands. I think I discovered a band called Neurosis, which is one of my favourite bands. Literally from going to the old Planet Video back in the day.
Oh, Planet Video, yeah.
Go up in the corner and like pretty much, they used to have the CDs and it used to be like, oh my god, this album looks sick. I don't know what band it is. Sometimes if they were like Relapse Records or something, they'd have like the hype sticker on it saying, if you like bands like, this band and this band, it's like, cool, I'm sold. I haven't listened to this CD yet, but I'm taking it home with me. And it was sick. It was from there. It was like, you end up discovering other bands on the label and everything like that. And
tour packages as well, because I remember the way I got into Lamb of God was I remember seeing a tour poster. Gaerea was headlining back before Lamb of God was huge, and Lamb of God was opening. I was like, who the fuck is Lamb of God? So check them out. Order the CD. Took months to get there, and then my Discman got stolen the day I got it. That was Ashes of the Wake. I had to wait another couple months before it came back, and I had to go buy a new Discman. Anyways.
Picking stuff blind, I will say that Kristen is exceptionally good at that.
Yeah?
Literally being in stores in Norway and that, and she'll pick a pile of stuff, and you can't even pronounce the name of any of it.
It's going to be good
It's
there.
all amazing. It's
nice.
It's one of her hidden talents.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, so from discovering heavy music and stuff, then what led you actually to get into like playing music itself?
Who or what influenced you to pick up an instrument, and why did you pick up that instrument?
All right. Me first.
Way to sell him down the road.
Doing.
Dead silence.
I'm just like, I haven't thought about this for ages.
Honestly, I think growing up, like I actually like really wanted to learn how to play drums because it actually sounded like really looked enjoyable. It sounded awesome. Like on every song and band I listened to growing up. And I asked my parents for Christmas one year, is there a chance I could get like a drum kit?
Nope.
Next minute, got a guitar and one of those little like 10 watt guitar amp sort of thing. I was like, all right, well.
And a pair of headphones.
That's it. And I guess I'm learning this now. And it was basically, I think it was just, like accident in that sense. Yeah.
Wow. And how old were you again?
I would have been about 14.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I suppose it was just that age where it was, you start like growing up and discovering like the bands that or like music that's sort of like I'm definitely resonating with your Slipknots and your Marilyn Manson and Korn and and essentially it's like you see like Joey Jordison. It's like, oh hell yeah, I want to play drums like that. And then obviously in my case got the guitar, and then it's like, all right, well I want to play like Dave Mustaine and like Kurt Hammett, and and pretty much from there you start going down that path, and then you get into your Chuck Schuldiners and play all good guitarists.
Yeah, for sure. I think mine was. It was pretty much. I was in, I think, year 6 in school, and this is when people started throwing around. People started learning instruments like drums and guitar and things like that, and they're already talking about, we're going to start this like school band. We're going to be awesome. And I was like, and I'd always sort of. Just seeing lots of footage of The Who and stuff like that, and every now and then they'd impersonate Pete Townsend or whatever doing that. But I was like, but there's already 3 dudes going, we'll play guitar, and I was like, no one said bass yet, so I'll be the bass player if you like. But then it's sort of. So I started learning and things like that, and then I think I was actually in early high school and that as well, or late primary school, was really into punk and all that. So you had like Pennywise and stuff like that, where the bass is really quite prominent. Like Jason Thurskin, the guy that replaced him, is it Randy or can't remember his name, but like yeah, it's sort of like very driven by bass, and then even commercial stuff was all the like commercial punk and that back then, like Mark Hoppus's bass tones and all that.
And Offspring and
yeah,
stuff.
And like I remember when I learned self-esteem. I'm like,
yeah.
But and then I sort of shelved it after a bit. I did like the school band thing. We played like I remember playing Grinspoon and I think it was Nirvana in Bloom we played at school, and then I sort of shelved it for a bit, and then it was after I left school and I was in that time I'd bought a guitar and I was just mucking around on guitar, and I can't remember. This is when I even can't remember, but I ran into Gladys or whatever. You know Gladys very well, more than I do.
For reference, Gladys is a friend of ours. He's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. That's not his given name, but I can't say his given name because he hates his given name, but everyone knows him as Gladys, so he is, we'll have to get him in one day, actually.
But I can't remember how I ran into him either, but it was, he basically said,
Wait, so you don't remember where you met Gladys?
No.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but and then basically he was like, we're looking at sort of actually doing a band or something. And I was like,
please impersonate him. Please.
We're looking at doing a band.
guys. Yeah, anyways.
But, and I was like, I play guitar. I'll give it a shot. And then I remember he rocked up to my house with another friend of ours, Matthew Kearns.
Ah, yes.
And Matthew Kearns basically didn't finish school. He just played guitar in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And he basically walked into my garage, plugged in, and played the solo from Crazy Train or whatever. And I was like, we don't have a bass player. I'm going to do that. Because I was like, I can't even get close to that. And that's when I picked up bass again. And from that point, it's been my most comfortable, but I've really enjoyed it far more since I picked it back up from that point.
And so was that the start of Skexis?
Yes, that was.
Yeah. That was the first band. I remember watching you guys back then.
The first gig at the White Sands Hotel.
Ah, the White Sands.
In front of the bikers. It was so intimidating. It was we played on that stage in front of the bikers. Yeah. And all these bikers at the back, and they were just like... they put the smoke machine on, and I had to start the whole gig, and I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
I've never played in front of... adults before.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't see anything. And there's like these bikers are like, play something. Come on. Just like, I'm trying. And then Matt snapped his E string in the second song.
Yeah, I
and
remember.
So me and Eamon had to ad-lib for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I was just like...
Because he didn't have a spare guitar, he had to re-string it. I remember that. This is going well.
Yeah. But
Classic.
So I think Skexis, we were together for 5 years, and I think we played 3 shows in 5 years. It was fun, though. It was a good time.
Sweet. And then from Skexis, what did you do? Wait, is that when you joined ATF? After Skexis?
I think so, yeah, because there was... Yeah, it was around that point, yeah.
So then you joined ATF, and
then I met you through Gladys and that.
Yeah,
when we used to hang underneath the Criterion Hotel.
Yep.
At the Oak and Ivy.
Oak and Ivy is a pub. I didn't just hang out under a hotel. There's a pub there.
Yeah, I threw this guy some change, and then he was like, let's do a band.
To be fair, there are people that have met me that way, not throwing me change. They should have thrown me some change, but just hanging out in the city, that's what I used to do. You know, with the goths and whatnot.
Yeah. But I think that was because we weren't called ATF at first. What was the
Dissonant?
The Dissonant.
Dissonant, that's right.
The first incantation.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I didn't forget, but I haven't thought about it for a while.
Yeah. So.
But I remember because then you and I went and jammed with Brendan Knock in Nails.
Yeah, you told this. You were telling everyone about this last time.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's funny how it all works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of crossovers, I guess. I mean, it sort of shows how small Perth can be as far as the metal scene is concerned. Like, everyone kind of knows each other, and you've had so many crossovers and stuff with different bands, So
like every band's got a similar story, which is interesting to me because it's everyone's got all these cross. Like it's sort of like that 5 degrees of separation or whatever.
Yeah, or Kevin Bacon thing or whatever.
Yeah, the Kevin Bacon thing. Yeah, 2 degrees to Kevin. Whatever it was. And pretty much everybody in the Perth metal scene knows, knows each other through half a dozen people, I reckon, or a dozen, So
yeah. Griffiths toured in Japan as well, so it's
Japan. How was that?
Yeah, no, it was.
Who did you tour in Japan with?
So that was with the old band Rabble. So we got to basically play with Marduk and Abigail Ewams. But it was pretty sick because other than us, there was also Xenobiotic. Dead Space too. So it was sick. It was like just like running around, play in a different country, and Tokyo and Nagoya and stuff like that with like a bunch of dudes like we've known for ages, like from Perth, and so it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, like the backline was like it's bit hit and miss sort of thing. Like sometimes you'd rock up and you'd be hectic. You're playing through like a PV 5150 corp sweep. Can't get any better than that. Yeah. And then some other times it'd be like this like $200 solid state Marshall sort of like amp sort of thing. I was like, all right, am I going to blow this up if I lay on 6? But it was a good experience. Like well, when I say experience, like I couldn't. I think it was at that point where I was like, all right, I couldn't actually do this full time, like as like a job, because it'd be like literally this for like months and months on end. Yeah. Whereas like it kind of like by the end of it, I was like, oh yeah, no, it's awesome playing in a different country to different crowds, but the fact that I probably got like a total 6 hours sleep in a week, eating like crap, sort of thing. It's like, if I had to do this full time, I'd probably die.
No, like that's a serious thing.
Got to sacrifice a lot to do
it. People don't realize the sacrifice, and it's time off work, time away from your family and friends and such, and it is hard. Like I thought I would hate touring, because I'm very particular about everything, and but I fucking love it because once you get into the routine of it, I know if I could, I would literally wake up every day, work on music, and then go on tour and do that. That's what I would just do if I could. But the reality of the situation is you got bills to pay and nobody's paying you for fucking rehearsals. No one's
the money
paying
aspect
you.
of it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's the money. And then you got, like what people don't realize is like even at this level when you're going on tours, it's costing you money. Like they'll pay you a little bit.
Yep.
But you ain't making enough money to even cover the cost of flights, let alone accommodation and food. And like it's like you come back and then you got to go back to your day job and you're in debt, essentially.
That's it. It's the reality of musicians, especially these days more so than ever before,
and I do it 1,000 times because I've always said, like, the best things I've ever done have also simultaneously been the worst things. So, like, touring for me is both, because I fucking hate flying. Like, I hate being in planes. I hate airports.
It's the hardest part.
It's the hardest part. Like, I hate
that. It's all the waiting around as well.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that, and then the fucking... They lose your suitcase. Happens way more than you think. Like
the traveling with instruments is particularly because you can't just be like, there you go onto the conveyor belt. You literally have to be like, this is oversized. Yeah, you need to sign off on that. Check it off on your list, and then I have to take it over here, and then like.
And then you're just lucky if it gets there in one piece. Do you know what I mean? Like I think every time we've toured, we lost. Like I lost my personal baggage on one tour. I went through Victoria. Yeah.
All right, I think we've got to wrap it up because we are just about out of time.
It's just getting started.
I know. Man, but we've been talking for almost an hour, so we've had a lengthy conversation here. It's been a great chat, so thanks for coming in and having a chat with us.
Before we go, do you guys want to plug anything you've got coming out, any releases or any gigs in future?
Other than the Hornography gig we got coming up next
July 25th. With Troll, Neo Mantra, and Horus. So it should be a good night.
Looking forward to it.
It'll be a sick night. Appreciate
thanks very much.
Having us on the gig. Other than that, we're literally that'll be the last gig for the year for us because we're basically booked in to finally record our album we've been talking about doing for years now. In October, November. And hopefully, we've got some new material out in the new year. And then more shows in the new year.
Do you have a rough plan for when that album will be released?
I suppose it just depends on, we're hoping to try and get someone to help put out maybe on vinyl because that's the one thing we've sort of like been like, ever since we started this band, we just wanted to get like a vinyl release, because we all avid record collectors. So it's like, to have our own record, in our hands that that this is ours. Like we made this. It's a surreal feeling.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
It's going back to that tangible sort of thing that we were talking about before,
Exactly.
the vinyl especially, more so than CDs, like vinyl has that sort of aesthetic about it that seems to be, I mean, there's a resurgence of it, right? Like vinyl's sort of come back again, so.
Oh, Shaun Borg's constantly like, when are we releasing the other ones on vinyl, like our previous releases? He's like, we've got to put them all on vinyl, all of them.
That's good to say. When
It costs a lot of money.
When I win Lotto.
Exactly.
But other than that, I suppose we're just looking at hopefully put it out on vinyl, get a good record label out, and go from there.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, looking forward to
If you need any
that.
help from us, hit us up. Like if you want to do your release or through Hornography or like, your launch show or you just need it promoted because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, just hit us up. We'll add it to all the socials and the mailing list and all that kind of stuff. But we'd love to have an album launch for sure,
Yeah, we love album launches.
Yeah, we've had a couple this year. Like Vanta did their album launch.
We did a single launch of Buried Shallow
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And
So-
Agamar as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, so we've done some cool stuff. So
All right. Cool.
Get on board. But thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
thanks for having us, guys.
Cheers.
And keep doing what you're doing. Truth be told, I've listened to every episode of you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, pretty much because I basically drive for a living. So
Same.
Yeah,
That's
same,
what
yeah.
it is.
yeah, so literally,
A lot of podcasts.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts.
A lot of
and
music, a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love
so,
podcasts.
pretty much, having you guys pretty much, talk about Perth bands and metal. It's sick.
We just love talking about music, like metal, like just just gives us an opportunity to talk
we used to do this without the microphones, and now we're just doing it with because we're like, we should just do this.
We were chatting before we started recording, and we're like, we should probably save some of this for the podcast.
We could talk about the new there's a new Devil Driver album out. Came out
which we were
yesterday.
talking about.
We were going to talk about it. We didn't get to it. I forgot about it. Yeah. Lots of good stuff. So we'll see you all at Hornography
July 25th at the Milk Bar.
Milk Bar.
Catch us there.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.